test.
Okay, so you read it online and you have to answer questions though, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Back in 2010, at the beginning of this particular case, do you remember what unit you would have been in back in July of 2010?
I was assigned to the undercover unit.
All right. And so you would not have been responsible for gathering certain reports regarding certain towers.
No, sir, not on this case.
All right. And during that same time frame, you would not have, of course, been responsible for seeing whether or not there were any cell tower activity around the apartment that Mr. Wright had in Atlanta. Or
No,
not
sir.
the apartment, I'm sorry, the townhouse that Mr. Wright had in Atlanta.
In 2010?
Yes.
No, sir.
And through the report, sometimes it's referred to as an apartment, but it seems like more like a townhouse. And when I say a townhouse, you know what I'm referring to.
Yes, sir, I do.
From the photos and everything. But you
I
didn't
haven't seen those photos, but
Oh,
I know the townhouse.
You didn't gather any of those photos or anything like that?
Oh, no, sir.
Did you go to Atlanta?
No, sir.
All right. You focused on a 2-day or 3-day window as far as the actual tower activity, correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember exactly what those couple of days would have been as far as the tower activity?
For this report, yes, sir, it was July 18th and 19th, and then moving forward to the 20th, 21st of
Now,
2010.
At the time that the case would have taken place, it would have been possible to gather activity farther back for a window of time, maybe a month. This way and a month the other way, correct?
Are you referring to call detail records?
Yes.
Yes, sir, at the time.
Now you got the call detail records from Mr. Turner, right?
Yes, sir.
Or from his carrier, C-Spire.
Yes, sir.
You also got the AT&T records regarding Ms. Wright, correct?
Yes.
You also got records regarding Edna J, correct?
Yes, sir, these records were provided to me.
Did you ask for, after reviewing the records at any point, to get the records of a Merle Hampton?
No, sir, I was not.
And you saw in one sector of your report, the name Merle Hampton appears, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, and I know that you have never worked for a cell phone company specifically. You worked mostly with the MPD. We look like we might be the same age, you might be younger. So I'm assuming the majority of your adult work life has been with MPD, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it has.
And when you described the phone mechanism and how it works as it relates to cell towers, you didn't explain, I don't think from what I was writing, I was trying to write fast, you didn't explain how the actual cell phone mechanism works.
No, sir, we didn't go into that detail.
All right. Person has a phone, what you can see on the outside of the phone, that doesn't have anything to do with the information that the tower is receiving or bouncing one way or the other, correct?
But you're asking on the outside of the phone?
On the outside of the phone, the shell casing, I guess we'll start with.
No, sir, it doesn't.
All right. Now, once you get on the inside of the phone, there are some mechanisms that I think the cell tower is reading, correct?
It's reading an antenna? Yes, sir.
What is the antenna reading coming from the actual phone? What sends the data to the phone? To the tower.
So the tower itself is sending out the radio wave. The radio wave is connected to the antenna and it's going back. So it's connecting that way.
And it's only the antenna, right? Like a chip wouldn't change that one way or other. If I switch chips with Mr. Hagerman, that doesn't, and I go down Poplar, that wouldn't change anything about what cell phone data from 901-496-666, that wouldn't change anything, would it, if he and I exchanged cell phone chips?
Are you saying chip, or are you referring to the SIM card?
SIM card,
Okay.
or SIM chip, that was whatever.
Okay, so a SIM card is what connects the cell phone to the actual carrier into that network. And yes, sir, if you were to change your SIM card out with Mr. Hagerman, and you got Mr. Hagerman's SIM card to put it in your phone, that your phone would then, once it connects to the tower, would show a different IMEI number, which we talked about yesterday. That's the serial number to the phones. It would show a different phone number. That would be the phone number that now you're using off that SIM card to connect to that network.
And if Mr. Hagerman has my SIM card or SIM chip, he drives to Batesville today, and his phone pings, whose phone number going to, let's just say mine is AT&T, and the number is 496-1111. Where would 496-1111 show on my record as pending.
So you're saying that you've now given your SIM card to Mr. Hagerman, correct?
Yes,
He
sir.
is now driven to Batesville
Yes, sir.
and connected and using, it's gonna show up his phone, his IMEI number and his call records will show that that number or that device was using that tower.
So it would show,
It would show the phone that he has with the SIM card in it connected to that tower.
right. So if somebody says, where is John Perry on St. Patrick's Day, 2022, and Paul Hagerman is sitting at my favorite restaurant in Batesville, Mississippi, eating, would it show that John Perry is here, or would it show that John Perry is in Batesville eating at his favorite restaurant off the square?
If you've switched SIM cards,
Yes.
it's gonna show that device is down in Batesville,
Correct.
if the device is being used.
Now, yesterday when you were testifying about Jay's whereabouts on the night in question, you said that Jay was in Batesville and he's moving, right?
Yes, sir.
But you never said that Jay's phone was in Batesville, apparently moving to Sardis at some point or anything like that, right?
We're referring to the device itself was connecting to towers that were in Batesville. Yes, sir.
Right. And so, just for clarity's sake, you're not saying that you know where Jay Martin was on that night, right?
No, sir, I'm not.
And you're not saying that you know whether or not Jay Martin was in Batesville or was driving to Sardis or manipulating the phone with someone in Batesville or Sardis on that night.
Based on the records we have, all we can tell you is that the device was using towers that were in Batesville.
The device, right? And there's no way that you could testify about who used a payphone in Batesville, whether or not it's a friend, a girlfriend, or one of the guys or persons who was referred to as helping him throw this party were in Batesville.
No, sir, there's no way for us to know, for me to testify to that.
You didn't search Merle Hampton, right? The name.
No, sir.
Was Merle Hampton anywhere in the phone records that you saw?
For Mr. Turner,
Yes.
it was in there multiple times, yes, sir.
Right.
The name.
Right. Was there an irony to the fact that when Cheryl Wright would call, that it seemed that Merle Hampton would call? Did you notice that? You said yesterday there's 140 some odd calls between Cheryl and Billy Turner, right? You got to.
It's 186, yes, sir.
Right. Out of those 186, did you bother to number how many seem to be more than that? You said 45 seconds. Like I said, it's actually, it could be up to a minute and 15 seconds, I think, right? That is nobody answering. Is that not true, depending on the mechanism and the call?
Yes, sir. The standard we use is anywhere between 45 seconds to a minute.
Right. And the majority of those were not anybody answering from Mr. Turner, correct?
We looked at the call records, which ones you're referring to. I'm not sure which ones you're referring to.
May I approach Your Honor?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
All right.
Which ones are we?
All right. Let's start at the first page.
Okay.
The first page is July, I believe, is it not?
Yes, sir. It starts with July 5th.
Now, you would have gathered these and sent these, I believe, to Mr. Hagerman, and he forwarded them to me.
Yes, sir. I was provided these and then they were provided to him. Yes,
All
sir.
right. The very first call is a no subscriber, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then there's a call that's incoming, correct?
Yes, sir, there is.
Now, that 901-239-3322, do you know whose phone number that is?
The 239-3322 is Mr. Turner.
All right. And on that day, there appears to be a call. Do you see the duration?
Yes, sir, I do.
And how long is that duration?
43 seconds.
All right, and so that would be indicative that no answer, right?
Yes, sir. It could be no answer. It could be, yes, sir.
And then there's an outgoing to the sheriff number of 901-552-6252, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, and was that one answered?
It shows 28 seconds.
All right, and in fact, I got 2 calls that way that's not an answer, right?
Yes, sir. They're back to back.
And then another one, there's no answer, correct?
It's only 29 seconds.
All right, and then if you go, let's go farther down that page.
Yes, sir.
You see Merle Hampton in calling again at 12:14:48.
Yes, sir, I do.
And that one seemed to be a 3-minute incoming call, correct?
That is correct.
Now, it doesn't tell you who other than the name Earl Hampton, but do you know what address that number corresponds to? Did you get any of that information?
You want the cell tower?
No, just the address, like when you pay your phone bill, there'll be an address connected to the phone sometimes.
Talking
but
about for Mr. Turner?
No, for this Earl Hampton number.
No, sir, I did not research that.
Okay.
Let me stop you for 1 second. Could you answer questions as to what page you might be on? What you and Sergeant Evans is looking at, is that in Exhibit 70 or is that some other document?
These are the complete records for that month, and what I can do is, at this time, Your Honor, I'll ask the court, these are records provided through discovery.
Yes, sir.
And if I can have the deputy approach you, and I'll ask him the predicate questions to ask you to be introducing the evidence. Unless Mr. Hagerman might stipulate that.
We have no objection.
It'll be, I don't know what the number is.
It's exhibit number 71. And this is, sorry, that was what's?
So these are cell phone records. This is actually not the raw data. This is
Yes, sir.
This is the cell phone records for Mr. Turner, and these records were entered into one of our software programs called PinLink, and this is a printout from PinLink of the records from July 5th, 2010, with the last record being August 5th, 2010.
And
So-
these are cell phone records of Mr. Billy Turner, is that correct?
Yes, sir, they are.
For the records of exhibit number 71, a document described by Sergeant Evans, roughly, again, just guessing, about 25 pages or so. Cell phone records from July 5th, 2010 to August 5th, 2010. Billy Turner cell phone records, July 5 through August 5, 2010. I think everybody else try to follow along with this, Deputy Smith.
Is there a way, and I guess we can take a pause, this is the only document like this that would need to be copied, but if you can, you can just copy
If you don't mind sitting there for a moment, call according to recess. I'm going to collect these copies. Got a copy machine. The copies real quickly. It should take about 3 minutes. Everyone can remain seated.
We'll stand as a recess.
maps? Do you have it right here? Okay.
I'm good.
Yes, sir. Apologies to the jury, it took a little bit longer than I thought. I thought it was about 25 pages, actually 41 pages. So it's about 700 pages that it had to copy, so that's why it took a little longer. Mr. Perry, you may proceed.
Thank you. Let's go back to that first page real quick for a second.
Yes, sir.
When you receive these, you have at the top, or receive these from whomever provides them for you. And once again, who provides this type of document to you for the analysis? Does it come from another agency or entity within the Memphis Police Department, or how do you receive this report?
No, sir, in 2010 is when they obtained the raw data from the cell carrier.
I got you.
Then I was provided that as part of a case packet or an investigation packet. That data was presented to us or given to me. It comes from the cell phone carrier in an Excel document.
Yes.
We would then take the Excel document and we would ingest that or upload it into our software tool, which is PinLink. And where this report was generated was from PinLink. So what we're looking at here is what was ingested into the software, and then the software, they printed out a copy of this report.
And if you'll go through the columns with me, the target, that tells you the number of the person who you're trying to inquire about.
Yes, sir, that would be so we got the records from Mr. Turner, which is the 901-239-3322. So in our system, when we ingest it, we create a case, we then we auto-load the records in. In doing that, it generates the target, because that's our target number, that's whose records we're basing this report off.
And what's the next column?
So it's direction, so that would be if the call is incoming or outgoing. So an incoming call would be someone calling Mr. Turner. An outgoing call would be Mr. Turner calling someone else.
And the call status completed, what does that mean?
So that just means that a call was made. It doesn't necessarily mean it was answered or not answered. It just means that a voice call was transmitted through their network.
And like you said yesterday, sometimes they're under 45 seconds being a marking point, but that's just what you all use. It could be actually a little bit more or less if it's an unanswered call. In other words, you call me and my phone is on silent, I don't know it, or what have you, that you call, it could be a minute and a half before I know that you actually called. But something longer than that indicates that we're talking and having a conversation.
Yes, sir, it could go both ways. I could call you and we could talk for less than 30 seconds. We don't need to talk long. Or I could call you and it doesn't, and you don't answer it. That's just an indication of the duration of the call. The standard that we use in training is anything less than 45 seconds is typically not an answered call.
Now, the duration, of course, is what you just kind of described. The beginning location, is that different sectors, et cetera?
No, sir, the way this report's reading, so this is not the raw data. This is something that I didn't actually create this report. So the way this report was created is it's telling you the tower information. So that's the tower number that they're referring to.
Okay.
And so that's what it's referring to.
And based on your experience, 106 is where?
We'd have to pull it up, but it's going to be it's in Memphis. I believe 106 is actually going to be the tower that's actually close to the homicide scene, if I recall.
Right. And that's coming from a Merle Hampton, correct?
That shows that if we're looking at line number 2, is that what you're referring to?
Correct.
So yes, sir, under dialed name. So to describe to the jury though, we don't get the names from the raw data. We just get cell phone numbers. So those numbers have to be researched. They have to be put through either police databases and researched. They have to be actually do a separate warrant or court order to reach out and get the subscriber information for that number. So that information is put in by an investigator who researched that phone number and then added that as the dialed name in the system. So That, and the system, yes, sir, that shows is that name.
All right. And once you come down, halfway down the page, you see that name again. Well, more than, I guess that's 3/4 of the way down.
At 1214?
At 1214, and then you have it at 1215 also, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Right. And it seems like the numbers of the duration of call almost seems identical. It's 308 and then 304, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And that's from a sector 106?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Let's turn a few pages. Let's skip the second page into the third page. You see that name again?
Yes, sir, we do.
All right, and what column do you see that name in? Or what row? Would you say that's the third row?
I would refer to date and time. You have the date of July 5th, 2010 at 22:24.
Is that called incoming?
At 22:24, yes, sir, it's an incoming call.
And look at the time. What time is that?
That one's at 10:24.
All right.
22:24 hours.
Now, there's another call that's at 22, what from that?
The one below it?
Yes.
Sir, it's at 22:25.
All right, and then what's the duration of the call above it? 32 seconds?
Yes, sir, it is.
And then the one below it is 28 seconds?
Yes, sir, it is.
Now, does that not seem to be working simultaneously?
Yes, sir, I see where you're going. I mean, there's a 2-second gap. Is that what you're referring to?
Of a call coming
of
from the same
overlay?
number,
Yes,
right?
sir.
All right. Let's go down mid-page. Now, let's say Merrill Hampton again, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me, that number is coming, what time is that call going into Billy?
The 2 incoming calls are, you have duplicate records there, it would appear, based on the fact that they're at the exact same time.
And it's at, what sector are they coming from?
It's again, the 106. The first one actually, sir, comes from the 249, and the second one comes from 106.
Now, you got calls coming in at the same time from 2 different sectors, right?
Yes, sir.
And,
That's what
but
that
you weren't,
shows.
now, let me say this, you were working dope cases back then, right?
Yes, sir, I was working narcotics.
So I know this would have jumped off the page at you because you were an expert. Now, but it wasn't your fault not going deeper into this back then, right?
I wasn't asked to do that in
to do it.
2010, no,
All
sir.
right, let's turn the pages. Let's go one page. Turn it over, because they're not numbered, and I apologize, but this is the record that was given to me. Or we just give only one page. Let's go down again. You see the row numbers, I think about 7 or 8 rows down.
What date and time we're referring to?
We're talking about, I think, 7/6/2010, military time 22/14, 10/14 or so. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go 2, 4, 6. I got it. Not counting it quite right, but I think it's 8 or 9 down.
Yes, sir, I see the call at 22:14 hours.
All right. And then you have one at 22:15, right?
Yes, sir, we do.
Same duration, but those are from the same sector this time, correct?
Yes, sir, they are.
All right, now let's turn to the next page. You have let's go to July 7th, 2010, down to 2041-04 and 2041-04 once again. You see where we are?
Yes, sir, I do.
Everybody following on? All right. Can you read that time for me?
Yes, sir. Again, it's a duplicate call showing at 20:41 and 04 hours.
All right. Now, each one that we've read thus far, and if you don't agree, you can look at different pages, but they seem to be incoming to Billy, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go over a page to 7/8/2010. Looks like midnight on the 8th of July. Now, there only appears to be one call that time, correct?
Yes, sir. There's an incoming at 00:09 hours.
All right. And that's from what sector?
It's the same tower, sir.
All right. And let's go down to where it's 12:09. That's midday, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And there's a call at 12:09:57 for 35 seconds. I mean, it's unanswered, right?
It just shows the duration of 35 seconds, yes, sir.
And then one for 33 seconds,
Yes,
right?
sir.
All right. And then if you go down again a few lines, what time is the next call from Merle Hampton? Do you see that?
Talking about 7/8 at 19:01?
Yes.
Yes, sir. There's a call at 19:01.
And what time would that be in regular time?
It's 7:01 p.m.
Okay. And that call also was not answered, correct?
It just shows a duration of 43 seconds. I can't testify if it was answered or not.
I got you.
Yes, sir.
Well, you got two calls that same way. One is 43 seconds, one is 14 seconds, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then we go down a line, skip a line. Merle Hampton, again, what time is that?
This is an outgoing call at you're talking about the 19:04, or were you going
Correct.
down?
The
19:04, it's an outgoing call for 48 seconds.
All right, and there's another one, right?
Yes, sir, there is another one. Again, it's showing you duplicate calls.
I got you. Now we go down to the next page. Turn the next page over, please. Now you see another incoming, correct? At 7/09/2010 at 09:26.
Yes, sir, we do.
34. It's like 9 in the morning.
Yes, sir.
And that one is a 36-second call, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And then next to that is an actual outgoing for 4 minutes and 7 seconds. All right?
Okay, hold on. You're talking about 9:26?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
No, I think it's 10:20:48.
So 10:20:48, yes, sir, there's a duplicate call again that shows 4 minutes and 7 seconds.
Did you look at any of Jimmy Martin's records or statements, or hear any of his statements at all?
His statements? No,
Yes.
sir.
Any recordings?
I heard some of his recordings from 2012.
Okay.
Just during the course of the investigation.
During the course of from your recollection, do you remember him talking about coming to Memphis and Shara giving him Billy's car?
No, sir, I don't know.
You don't remember any of that?
No, I was not part of all that.
I got you. Let's turn again. And we go to 7/9/2010. You see there's another 29-second call and then a 26-second call during the 10 o'clock hour, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, since the jury will have the benefit of looking at this later, let's jump to the night in question, or to the day in question, 7/18/2010. All right. At 14:03. What time is 14:03?
It'd be 2:03 in the afternoon.
All right. You have an incoming call. You see that?
Yes, sir, I do.
And that incoming call is at what time from Edna J? And let's go above Merle Hampton. Edna J. Do you know who Edna J is supposed to be?
I know based on the phone information that Sheriff Wright had Jimmy Martin's name and her phone is Edna J.
All right,
So, yes, sir.
okay. Edna J. Calls Billy, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's what the record showed.
Now, this time, when Billy, I guess, returned called or tried to call or what have you, the next line, the outgoing call, where does it end up answered?
It's an outgoing call to the 901-515-7714, which they have listed here as the Morel Hampton.
All right, Morel Hampton, and that call actually lasts for how long?
The one after it lasts for 6 minutes and 26 seconds.
Now, do you see the sector on that?
Shows Tower 109.
And that would be in the Memphis area, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And so we know at 101 or at 1403 hour, 101 is where?
I'd have to look at the, I don't recall it.
You-
I'm sure it's in Memphis. I'd
It's
have
in
to
the
look.
Memphis area.
Yes, sir. I would have to say it's in the Memphis area.
Right. And then when Billy responds to the call, it still gets answered in the Memphis sector, 109, right? Right below it.
Yes,
For
sir.
6 minutes, it's a conversation. Correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then we go down on that same day, 7/18. This is the daytime before Mr. Wright is killed, right?
Yes, sir, it is the day before.
You got a number of calls that are going to Billy from Edna J, correct?
There's calls listed at 16:53 hours for Edna J. There's a call at 16:55. Yes, sir, there's several calls.
And those sectors are Memphis sectors,
They're Memphis Towers, yes, sir. That's how I would refer to them.
all right? Now, let's go a page over. At 7:19, you have 2 incoming calls. If you go to you have 3 in a row, right?
Yep.
One is from Batesville, correct?
This Batesville payphone.
All right, and I'm pretty sure the Batesville payphone doesn't have a chip. We're going to get it. Straight payphone back in 2010. I don't see any payphones much now, but
I would assume that, yes, sir.
all right. And that seems to be a 31-second call, correct?
Are you talking at 7:19 at 002 hours?
Correct. Is that 12:02 in the morning?
Yes, sir, it is.
And
It's a
you-
31-second call.
Okay. And then you have another call. What's the next time that's listed on the line below?
It's 001215, that one? That's one you referred to?
Right.
Edna J, yes, sir.
And then you have another call from this Merle Hampton number, correct?
Yes, sir. 14
And that's it.
minutes after midnight.
That's how many minutes?
14 minutes after midnight.
All right. Now, you said you didn't listen to Jimmy Martin's information previously, correct? You didn't listen to it or remember it, or did you listen to it?
It was played, I mean, during the investigation, we listened to it, but it was not something that I was asked to analyze or look at or go to and write a report on, no, sir. I don't know all the exact details of what was said in the interview.
Back in those days, in the 2010s, or even in the 2012, you weren't doing the forensic analysis, correct?
In 2010, I was
Yes.
I was assigned to the undercover unit. And I would do, at the undercover unit, I did cell phone records, and also I was more of an analyst for them.
Now, if you did cell phone records and things like that in the past, and you know some of this stuff you got interested in back when you were doing that with the undercover unit, you knew back then people would change cell phones and chips and things like that all the time, right?
People can, yes, sir.
And did you know that Edna J, while he's talking to Memphis Police Department, indicates that back in the day when he got caught in his first murder, it was because of the phone. So I knew about phones, is what he said. That's a person that knows phone technology, according to him. Would you not say that?
Your Honor, I don't think this is the appropriate witness for these questions.
I'll strike.
To the hearsay and everything else.
All right.
And he cannot testify as to what another person might think was error, which I'll sustain the objection.
Yes, sir. you're an expert, right? So I'll do hypothetical. You talked before about whether or not Mr. Hagerman or I were in, if Hagerman was in my restaurant in Batesville, right? Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And I gave him my phone chip, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now let's make it even more complicated. Let's say that I, in planning to do a murder, tell you, my other buddy, hey man, call this number from this cell phone for me, because he ain't answering. You calling from Batesville, right?
You're asking me if I'm calling for Batesville?
I mean, I'm just saying, if I ask you to call a number for me in Batesville, you can call a number for me in Batesville and I'd be sitting dead square in the middle of Memphis, can you not?
We only can testify to the records. The records, if you're referring to Mr. Martin, have that the phone itself, the device, connected to towers in Batesville. As far as who's on the other end of that device, I can't testify to that.
Right, and you also can't testify who's in the field killing Lorenzen Wright in Memphis, can you?
No, sir, I cannot.
All right, and as it relates back to Batesville, what I'm saying is in your record, you made mention of there being a call from a Batesville payphone, I thought. If you didn't, I'll move on.
Oh, no, sir, I didn't.
All right, and you're not saying that because that phone call was made from a payphone in Batesville, that this man or woman or whomever would have made it would have in fact been Jimmy Martin. You're not saying that, are you?
No, sir, I can't. I can't testify to that.
And because his phone is moving up a highway to Sardis or comes to rest in Sardis, you're not saying that Jimmy Martin is holding that phone in Sardis, are you?
I can't testify to that, no, sir.
And you never at any point in time did any kind of research or made note or even mentioned Merle Hampton and the calls from Merle Hampton yesterday, did you?
No, sir.
In fact, we're going to get into your report in a moment. Merle Hampton pops out in the middle of your report, doesn't it?
Yeah, the name's in there. Yes,
Right.
sir.
What about Augusto Julioso or something along those lines? It was a name, Augusto, that stuck out. I like the name. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Yes.
But did you do research on the phone, that phone number?
No, sir, I did not.
Now, if you didn't listen to the tape, you wouldn't know this. So, how many people were questioned regarding this case? Do you know? Or
I do not know.
Jack, this isn't the appropriate witness.
I can. May I respond, Your Honor? Just. I can't respond to an objection.
If it's within his knowledge, you may certainly ask the question, Mr. Perry, but he's tendered as an expert in phone records and cell phone extrapolations and the investigation as to who may have been questioned, how many people may have been investigated. I don't know if he knows the answer. If he knows the answer, he may certainly answer it, but I think he started to say he didn't know.
I got you.
Yes, sir.
On the report and the information from 2010, you said that you could have, if you were working back in 2010, made a request for the extrapolation data from different places, right? Including Walnut, the lake in Walnut. Did you have any information to go by in 2016 regarding any phones bouncing off of that particular tower?
No, sir.
Did you, based on your report from 2016, have any data regarding any other addresses that Billy Turner would have been in on the night of July 18, 2010?
No.
Yesterday, when you were testifying, you turned and said Billy Martin was at Sheriff's house. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And you're not basing that on information provided to you from anybody at the DA's office or the police department, any kind of calls that you heard where Shara is talking to Billy in her house, right? You don't have any videos of Billy walking around the backyard or anything like that, do you?
No, sir, I do not.
You have a photo of Billy being in that house.
No, sir, I do not.
So you don't know, in fact, whether or not Billy was in that house at all, do you?
No, sir, I can only testify that what the records indicate.
We're gonna get into that in a minute, but you don't have any data whatsoever that you, as an expert, can rely on when you made the statement, Billy's in Shara's house. That's not a statement that you can testify to, right?
Correct.
All right, and so you don't know that, in other words.
Oh, no, sir. We can place the device in that area.
Right. How many houses are in that area?
I don't know. I don't know the number. It's a neighborhood.
100, 200 houses, you think? Collierville, in
It's
that
probably-
area?
It's be several.
All right. So Do you know how many, and I'm not talking about necessarily on July 18th, but you testified also about houses in that particular sector and a July 21st time frame where Edmonds J's number appears to be in a sector in Collierville, right?
Yes, sir.
And do you realize, as a part of your investigation, do you know that Billy Turner was operating a lawn service during that time?
I'd heard that, yes, sir.
And having known that, and knowing that Cheryl lived in a neighborhood, if it's 1 o'clock in the daytime, Billy could be at a number of houses in that neighborhood, right?
I can't testify to that.
Can you testify to where Billy grew up?
No, sir.
Can you testify about a neighborhood called Starlight?
No, sir.
Can you testify about the neighborhood that was east of that sector that Cheryl's house was at the bottom of, that seemed to be, I think, at the intersection of where 72, but below Poplar is 72 at some point. But in that neighborhood in Collierville that you drew the second sector in the eastern portion of that, do you remember, did you do any information regarding that neighborhood?
No, sir, I was not asked to do that.
I think it's a trick question now. Pause.
Jury says need a break.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, remember, court's instruction not discuss case with anyone amongst yourselves. We'll take a recess for a few minutes. Let me know when you're ready to resume, and you can call Deputy Smith, please. We have to step down from the witness stand. You cannot discuss your testimony with anyone on the break, and we'll resume it shortly, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. For the record, this question from the jury was in need of a break, Mr. Smith. So this court would stand in recess for a few minutes. Clear the courtroom, please.